how not to waste this year, or how to start the year off on a strong note. It's January 1st as I'm recording this, and it's already probably been a couple of weeks that everyone has been thinking about New Year resolutions and how they will finally, or they're hoping to finally, start tackling their goals, pursuing their dreams, actualizing their potential, or however you want to put it. The point being that everyone watching this wants more out of themselves. They know they can do more, they know they can be more, but like pretty much everyone else, they are in certain ways or to a certain extent failing to show up for themselves and for those goals, dreams, projects, and ambitions. So let's talk about how to change this script that's been running for way too long and how to make the most out of this year, how not to waste this opportunity. Because January 1st and this whole idea of the new year and New Year resolutions, it is in many ways just an opportunity. You and I know that it's just another day, but there is a psychological opportunity to turn a new page and make a change. That's what we're hoping for. Well, there is pretty much two things that I want to share that are going to, let's say, take care of the vast majority of what you need in order to not waste your year and or make the most out of it. First, let's start treating the year or modeling the year after a good day. What do I mean by this? When you are trying to live a good day, to make the most out of your day, there are a couple of things that are the highest leverage moves. And probably the highest leverage move is at the beginning of the day, don't overstimulate yourself. I've been writing about this for 6 years at this point. I've been talking about this in multiple of my videos. Protecting the morning, making the morning sacred. Depending on your life circumstances, maybe you can make initial 15 minutes upon waking up sacred, or an hour, but you have to have a portion of your morning that is protected from all distractions. Now, when I say sacred, for some of you who consider yourself atheists, you might be put off by that term. This making the morning sacred, this idea doesn't require you to be religious. I'm using that term to explain the significance that you have to place on protecting your mind, your attention, and your energy first thing in the morning. If we translate this to the level of the year, what does that mean? Don't start your year with overstimulating yourself and overfeeding yourself with information as well. So, if I'm going to be a real friend to you, I have to say, I'm also part of what you're feeding yourself. So by all means, challenge if I deserve to be part of your day or part of your week. If you figure out that you've gotten enough out of me and that I'm not contributing much to your life, to your personal development, that at this point it's time for you to move on and to protect more of, again, your energy, time, attention, by all means, I encourage you to stop visiting my channel, stop watching my channel. But I'm asking you to do that on a scale of all of what you're consuming. If we want to start the day off with silence in order to build that relationship with ourselves, then we want to start the year off by not being pulled in 1 million different directions. We don't want now to be exposed to countless of life paths and ideas about different life paths and countless of different ideas of side projects if you already have your own projects, dreams, ambitions, if you already have some plans. The beginning of the year is for developing that relationship with yourself. I mean, every day of the year, every day of your life is still for developing that relationship with yourself. But I urge you to consider that if you want to develop momentum, and this word momentum, I'm kind of giving a spoiler right now. If you want to develop momentum and you're not the most confident in your ability to show up for yourself and keep showing up for yourself, start by treating the beginning of the year as the beginning of the day, and try to protect yourself from overstimulation and overconsumption of potentially unnecessary information, distracting information. One side note when it comes to the sacred morning and sacred part of the day. Maybe some of you who haven't heard me talk about this, maybe you're confused and you have certain questions, maybe counter arguments. How is it possible to completely dedicate the morning to yourself if you have family, partner, if you have to go to work early? I discuss a lot of these things in some of my previous videos. I will be making more videos on how to design your morning routine in, not a neurotic way. Neurotic way is what I consider a lot of productivity gurus and biohackers to be doing. So I still want to talk more about the sacred morning, but for now, that's not the main topic of the video, so I don't want to go on too long of a side tangent. I'm just acknowledging that I threw some things your way. For those of you who are not regular viewers, I'm acknowledging that I left some stones or a lot of stones unturned when mentioning the sacred morning, and that will be discussed in future videos as well as it was discussed in some of the previous videos. Drop a comment if you are a new listener and if you are not familiar with the idea of protecting your morning and making it sacred, even if it's 15 minutes. Now, to go back to protecting your mind at the beginning of the year and building that momentum. So we want to treat the year as a day, as a well-lived day, to a large extent. Of course, there are differences, but the point for now is this beginning of the day or beginning of the year, protecting our mind from overstimulation, overconsumption, distraction. Because what? Because it builds momentum. And that's where we are transitioning into the second point. The point is to build momentum. The point isn't to create immense unnecessary stress by putting a pressure on yourself to produce immediate results. You need to focus on momentum, because momentum is the name of the game of life. Momentum is all that you need at all times. You need results just occasionally to really make a difference in your life. Momentum is what you need at all times to keep moving. Results appear and happen at certain intervals. So don't create this immense pressure. Don't punish yourself with that pressure of seeing results right away. Focus on momentum. Because we are focusing on momentum, that's why the whole idea of starting the year in this somewhat slow manner of protecting our mind, that's why that idea is relevant. Because it is conducive to building momentum. Well, what's another thing that's conducive to building momentum, both on the level of the day and the level of the year? It's practicing certain level of indifference. Also something I discussed previously. Meaning, if January 1st you woke up hungover, if January 2nd you didn't start practicing that habit that you promised to yourself you will practice, don't look at that as, okay, now my chance to start the year off on the right note is over. Just like if you woke up and you failed to protect your morning and you started your day with doom scrolling, don't consider it that the day is a failure. Don't consider it a write-off. Don't say to yourself, okay, so I started my day with scrolling, I didn't protect my morning as I wanted to, well, I guess then I should not go to train because the day has already failed. I should not eat clean. I should not write. I should not journal. I should not practice the guitar. I should not do the language learning lesson. And that's what people often do. They fail at the beginning of the day. They fail to practice certain habits that they wanted to practice, and then they consider the whole day to be a write-off and do the most self-sabotaging activities or engage in the most self-sabotaging activities because they consider, okay, this day might as well be insignificant because it's a failure, so I will do whatever, and then tomorrow I will maybe start over on the right note. Well, Don't do that with the day, don't do that with the year. Use the opportunity of January 1st and this whole, as I said, it is a psychological opportunity to create momentum, to turn a new page, but don't be obsessed with it. Don't have this counterproductive relationship with it. If you don't have this perfect, clean start to the year, where, okay, January 1st, I have my tracking sheet, I have this, all of these things set in place to start executing on my goals. If you don't have that, so what? Start on January 2nd. Oh, I mean, what's the difference? What's the difference? Who cares? Who cares about January 1st, January 15th, February 7th? If you are watching this at some different point in time, hopefully my videos end up being evergreen. If you're watching this on March 15th, maybe 10 years after I have uploaded this, who cares what date it is? You know, I'm talking about this because it's relevant on January 1st. Most people care about it, but at any point in your life, you are free to shift the momentum of your life, to change the direction of your life. So who cares if you didn't start off the year as you wanted? Who cares if you're watching this on January 5th and you still haven't ticked off any boxes that you wanted to tick when it comes to habits? What are you going to do? You're going to say, okay, probably January and my whole year is going to be a failure. Who cares? That's what I mean when I say practice indifference. Deeply care about your life journey, deeply care about yourself and your life, deeply care about exploring and expressing your potential. But don't care about these made up things that can help us, but can also hurt us and act as self-sabotaging mechanisms. One of those things being New Year's resolutions. Don't be limited and trained and pressed down by them. That's what I mean when I say practice some level of indifference. So, if you treat the start of your year just like you would treat the start of a well-lived day, which is limiting your stimulation, overconsumption, distraction, if you understand that the point of doing this is for the sake of building momentum, and you practice some level of indifference where if you haven't started building momentum on January 1st or 3rd or 5th, it's okay, and you always get to start right now. All these three things, initially I said two things because I consider momentum kind of to be the underlying theme of them. So treating the year as a well-lived day, and the second being actually this practice of indifference, and then momentum as an underlying theme. If you acknowledge this, internalize this, put this into practice, I'm pretty confident that you can become unstoppable. Unstoppable in your own way, in your own right, whatever that means for your life story, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions, your potential, your journey. But I know you can do it. So whatever day is when you're watching this, all that I ask you is look at your digital consumption, or maybe overconsumption. Look at your digital hygiene, digital diet. Question harshly every single creator, channel, page that you follow. Question how much of your time they deserve, including myself. Then practice this indifference by explaining to yourself and making an agreement with yourself that at any point in your life you can shift the momentum, you can do the right thing and then continue doing the right thing. That these arbitrary symbols, such as New Year resolution, should be just taken advantage of to use that psychological opportunity, but never to be imprisoned by them. Practice that indifference. And I urge you, especially if you're watching this past January 1st, I urge you to say, in the case that you're not already on a roll where you're just crushing all of your habits, which probably a lot of you will be in that position where you are not crushing all of your habits, I urge you to say it out loud. I don't care. I don't care that I am not on track of having my tracking sheet be filled out with green check marks from January 1st to December 31st. I don't care about it. I care about momentum. And I'm going to start building momentum right now. That's it, friends. Thank you.